I want to talk a bit about Chelsea, because Chelsea Football Club have lost 2 of their opening 4 games, struggling to score. Fans are angry with players like Chilwell being played in left wing positions, as an example. And the 2 games they've lost have been against West Ham away, which you can say is a tough game. But the other one was Nottingham Forest at home. It's not like they've gone away to City or away to Arsenal or away to Newcastle. They've lost games that they really should be winning. Are Chelsea in a crisis, in your opinion?
They need a striker. And they've needed a striker for a long, long time, Terry, and they didn't bother buying one. Like the guy they've got, Jackson, he looks a bit of a handful, but he's not that great, is he? And is he really a striker? I don't know. He ain't going to bag him enough goals to get him up there. But, you know, I've seen Chelsea fans all in meltdown, which is cool. I understand their club's like gone from being elite and having an elite mindset to slowly, well, they're 6 years without a title. Yeah, soon to be 7, because they ain't winning it this year either, are they? 7 years without a title for Chelsea. That's crazy. And, you know, they're moaning about Chilwell on the left. But I don't know. Listen, they're creating chances. They just ain't got anyone to put them in the back of the net. And their decision-making in the final third is just shocking. But that's down to Poch. And then when you look at the formations he's playing, you look at the personnel that he's putting in. I mean, how Conor Gallagher's getting a gig when they've done £1 billion is mad. Yeah, it is actually insane. He ain't even West Ham level, mate. Yeah, with all due respect to West Ham fans, I actually like West Ham. But yeah, he ain't even that good, and he's getting in their team. And then they're playing Enzo further forward, and they're playing Conor Gallagher in the 8. It's like, no, you're supposed to put Enzo and Caicedo together, and if you're going to play Gallagher, play him as a 10. Yeah, some of his decisions have been crazy so far, but yeah, I don't think it's a crisis yet. But playing 6 defenders against Luton and 6 defenders against Nottingham Forest, I mean, that's baffling. Yeah, and results determine whether he's going to keep his job or not. And if we get to the next international break and it's still the same, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sacked. They can't go and get a striker. Where they get this, they're hoping Broja is going to be the key. Again, they've done £1 billion and they're hoping on him. Like, come on. The first thing they should have gone out and done in the summer was go and get a striker. Yeah, whether that be Harry Kane, Vlahovic, Ivan Toney deal for January. I don't know. Maybe they could get him in January. I don't know. But they needed a striker. Yeah, I think they were pinning their hopes on Nkunku, like getting them goals. And obviously he got injured. But then it makes it even more stupid why they didn't go and buy a striker. You know, Sterling started off the season all right, but ultimately he ain't going to bag you enough goals to win you anything. So yeah, in terms of where they've come from and where they are now, it probably is a crisis. But in terms of where Poch picked up the job to where they are now, not so much of a muchness, isn't it?
I mean, it's interesting for me because there's elements of I've watched Chelsea this year and I like them, and I look at Jackson and I think there looks like there's a real player in there. But of course, no, because again, I don't think his first touch is that bad. I think his link-up play is good. He gets into the right areas. He's got a good engine within him. But I almost feel like 4 games in, I'm watching him, and this is just a passing thought. It's not a concrete opinion that I have right now, because I think in the early stages of the season, you have to, unless it's on a player that you've watched for years, I think you have to be relatively fluid with your opinions, especially with new players that none of us had heard of 6 months ago. Let's be honest with you. No one knew who he was. Maybe you did because I know you watched a bit of La Liga, but
yeah, he weren't ripping it up. Let's be real.
No, but maybe there's pressure on him, like you're the Chelsea number 9, and maybe that's kind of crippling him a little bit. It's almost like if there was an experienced number 9 ahead of him, and he was starting some games, coming on as a sub in others, and the pressure wasn't all on him to deliver. And that's the one area that I'm a bit concerned about for Chelsea, is that all the players in their team that are meant to be the stars are all kids, and when they look around for who's there to support them, they're all kids. There's so many good technical footballers, but the age profile is so low. You've got Silva at the back. I actually think that's why. I mean, I play him further back, but Chilwell's got to be in this team, because without him and Silva, the average age drops to about 12, and I think that's a little bit of a problem for them. But they have to remain loyal, the fans, in my opinion. To...
Do you know what's crazy? Yeah? Somebody put in the chat, right? And this is true as well, because I've seen this from a lot of journalists, yeah, that are writing on Chelsea's behalf, right? And then you look at the players they've signed, and it is true. They didn't want to sign a single player over 25. It's Leonardo DiCaprio, their director of football.
But no, listen, I hear where you're coming from. I completely hear where you're coming from, and I think there's some issues there. I wanted to put this on the screen for you. This was put out today by a Chelsea account that says Chelsea's attacking rank in the Premier League: the most crosses, the second most big chances created, passes into the box third, progressive passes third, through balls third, touches in the box third, successful dribbles third, carries of the ball into the box third, shots joint fourth, shot quality, so that's accuracy of shooting, how many are on target, sixth. He says, we are good, stay patient. Do you think the performances are there and they should get behind the manager and players and encourage them? Or should they, and that's what I'm saying by this crisis, I almost feel like if there's too much panic too soon, you could inadvertently start a fire yourselves.
Maybe, but at the same time, Chelsea fans have been used to winning. And since this Todd Bowley guy's got here, they ain't won. Like, how many games have they won since he's been the owner of the club? In fact, take out Thomas Tuchel. Yeah, take out Thomas Tuchel's wins at the start of last season and count Graham Potter's wins at Chelsea. And then Lampard, did he even get a win? And now Poch. I bet it's under 10.
Would have had one. They've had one win this season. Let's just actually look at this, right? They had one win this season. But they only won 11 in the whole of last season anyway. So they've won 12 since Todd Bowley Premier League games.
Chelsea fans in the chat, how many did Tuchel win out of them 11 last season?
But we can look at, it's crazy. So they've won 12 Premier League games out of the 42 they've played under Todd Bowley. So that's what, like 25%-ish.
That's relegation. That is, see you later. Yeah, that is mad.
It is when you look at it. So I understand that.
Tuchel won 4 or 5 of them games as well.
Yeah, I get that. I want to ask you this question about it, though.
Days, they're dusted.
They're in a mess. They've been in a mess. But this is unprecedented for Chelsea in the last 20 years to be in this situation. So I understand they've got high standards and they want things to change. But if you're having to raise a team from this circumstance, it isn't the same as having a world-class side that's narrowly missed out on a Premier League where you've bought another star striker and you sack one world-class manager and bring another one in to try and get you over the line the following year. This is such a different scenario that I do feel like Chelsea fans have to remain patient whilst all these problems get fixed. And if they're telling Poch, you're not signing anyone over the age of 25, I mean, I listen, sometimes managers need defending. If he's told that, what's he meant to do in terms of bringing in experience if the owners say no?
That goes back to what I said about Ten Hag when you had a hissy fit last week.
Yeah.
He knows the terms of the job when he got it. He didn't have to accept the terms of the job. He would have had the conversation with the ownership and the board, and they would have had a business model, a game plan, whatever you want to call it, to attack the market. And I see some tweet the other day where he said, we didn't sign James Maddison because he's 26. We only wanted players under 25. Yeah, bro, that is insane. Like, honestly, and you're right what you said, yeah. Chilwell, Reece James, Thiago Silva. Other than that, and Thiago Silva's touching 39 this season, I think. Like, this is his last season.
Yeah.
They're finished if they're going to keep going down that model. They need some experience in there. If they're just going to keep going with kids, but a whole squad of kids, that ain't ever working. If they're going to go with some good young players that they've got, Enzo's a good player. I like him. I think he's a top young player. Like, if they're going to go down this route, you need some experienced heads around them. You can't just throw 25 under 25s together in a squad and hope it works.
Yeah, I don't personally believe that there's a policy of not signing anybody over 25. I think that's almost, what's the expression, like Chinese whispers of turn it into something else, that because they're inquiring about Ivan Toney. They went in for Onana, and I swear they're both over 25. Off the top of my head, they're both over 25.
Ivan Toney's 27, yeah.
Yeah, so they have looked at these individuals, and I get what you're saying about Poch. He's accepted those terms, and he has to do the.
They've decided it's going to be Jackson.
So I get what you're saying about Poch, and he decided to accept those terms. However, when you look at a lot of the statements that came out when they got rid of Potter and they brought in Poch, they spoke about how this was their plan was to build something in the medium to long term, and that fans essentially have to accept that we're not going to be Premier League champions this forthcoming season. I'm paraphrasing what was said, or that's how it read to me as an outsider. So I think it's just going to take time for this Chelsea team to develop back into a top team. They've gone for this very strange, from a European football point of view, approach. I mean, in fairness, barring the age profile, they've done what you said. They've literally bought and sold a whole squad inside 12 months. And now we're going to see whether your theory of football works, whether you can turn that into a winning team. I personally think to make it the chemistry work, to make it conducive and to make it deliver, the two mistakes they may have made is too many young players and too many players bought at the same time.
I don't think too many players brought. It's just too many young players. Somebody put a great comment in there a minute ago. Where is he? And he said, I can't see it now, typical. There it is. 8-year contracts, do the maths. They can't go over 25. That put them at 33. So if they go and sign a 27-year-old Ivan Toney on an 8-year contract, it's going to be 35.
That's a very, very good point. And this comment here says 1 billion spent and no expectations. That's mad. So Nathaniel, I'm not saying there are no expectations, but we've had this debate many times on the terrace when we spoke about other clubs. I think the expectation at Chelsea internally is to get back to where they were. But what's debatable in terms of what everybody thinks is how long they believe it's going to take to get there with their model. Their view probably is it might take 3 years, 4 years to get back to the top. But then when we're there with our model and what's coming after, we can stay there for 10 years plus, or maybe stay there forever. So sometimes you don't always see, you can't see the wood for the trees. And there's a plan that at this stage we might have the knowledge about and go, well, we know what they're trying to do, but we don't have the understanding of because they're not going to share it all publicly. But I also understand why fans want success in the here and now. I do think Chelsea fans have to remain more patient. When I saw Poch out tweets after 4 games, for me, that's exceedingly premature. Because I think you sack another manager and bring another one in now, if they get their wish, I don't see how that fixes anything. I don't see how that exponentially improves Chelsea to go to another manager. What would that be? Their 3rd, 4th, 5th manager in 12 months? That would be crazy. That doesn't, a club that's not stable.
Their owner's crazy, Terry. Their owner's crazy.
True.
We don't know what he's going to do next. Like, if he wakes up on the wrong side of bed tomorrow, he's sacking Poch. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know what he's going to do. It's hilarious sitting back watching it, though. I can't lie.
Oh, mate, yeah. Look, I'm glad. Listen, my club's got some issues that we'll get onto later, but I'm glad it ain't them. This year says, but Mount and Havertz were the problem. Listen, that's coming from a Leicester fan, so that's not even from a United or an Arsenal fan. But listen, let's see Mount and Havertz perform in their respective shirts before we relinquish them. I mean, if Chelsea were still doing what they're doing last season and Havertz and Mount were killing it at United and Arsenal respectively, then I think your comment, George, would hit different. But at the moment, the jury's still out on that.